Hi friends, today I am just outside enjoying the fresh air, and I've been thinking about some things that have really bothered me over the years that I think will be helpful to you if you are also just thinking about these things, pondering them in your heart, wondering how uh, you can make sure that you protect your family emotionally, protecting your kids, protecting yourself when you get yourself involved with a group of people that you do life with. So I'm today talking about homeschool groups. So some of you who watch this channel don't homeschool your kids. So this might not have anything to do with you and you may not be interested in this video. However, if you keep watching, you might see how even if it's not homeschooling for you, maybe some of what I'm about to tell you can help you in determining your friend groups and people that you let into your space. So for those of you who do homeschool, I wanted to give you a couple of red flags and some warnings to help you navigate these waters of homeschool communities and co-ops and groups like that when you get involved. There's a reason why so many people don't choose to get involved with homeschool groups, especially your more Christian conservative groups, sadly to say. And I am a Christian and a believer, so I'm saying this out of experience and having been to or been involved in 7 different groups over the years as we've moved around with our family. And some groups were secular, some were Christian, some were conservative, some were classical, some were do whatever you want groups. But I found a couple of key things that gave me some red flags for a few of the groups. And some groups weren't so bad at all. They just weren't relevant as my children got older, and they didn't need those particular groups anymore just because maybe they outgrew them or what the group was offering wasn't academically rigorous enough, and so we moved on. So some groups we moved on for more personal reasons, and other groups we moved on for academic reasons. So one of the first things I want to share with you to kind of watch out for and make sure that you pay attention to any warning flags. The first thing is honor. Make sure that when you're part of a group that it feels like everyone honors everyone else in the group, that no one is dishonored. The lack of honor is a key sign that something might be awry, most likely is. To honor someone is to be able to see what they bring to the table and appreciate them for who they are. And if you ever find that there's any families within your circle, within your homeschool circle that is being dishonored, that is a tall tale sign that it's not a good group. Okay, so honor. Number 2, preferential treatment. If you find that some folks, whether they've been there for years and years or folks who just came in to the group, are being treated with preference, with more importance, with more honor, I guess, and to the exclusion of other people, that can feel a little bit weird, right? It's off. And so if you find that some people within the groups are esteemed of higher status, or just because, you know, maybe they know a little bit more because they've been doing that, maybe that style of homeschooling longer, it's okay to give honor to whomever needs it, whomever deserves it. But it's when that person gets preferential or better treatment because of their status, that's when you might have a red flag, and just watch out for that, because that sometimes leads to dishonoring of others. The third thing is lack of flexibility. Okay, so, and to go along with that and sort of tag team off of that idea is dogmatic rule pushers. Okay, so if you're a part of a group that has rules that cannot be bent at all, and I'm not talking about rules of safety or general housekeeping, things that keep everybody safe in the group. I'm talking about rules that are more specific to how academics are played out within that group. If it's so structured and so specific that it can't be twisted at all to fit the academic needs of your kids or to fit a certain classroom that's different than the other classes. Maybe this age group or this class that a parent is co-op teaching is a little bit different than the next parent who's teaching another class, but the rules have to stay the same across the board because it's an organization rule. Then that to me is a little bit dogmatic. To me, like, I wouldn't like that. Maybe some people would, but I wouldn't like it because I think flexibility is the reason why I wanted to homeschool in the first place. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4, judgmental. That's a big one. That's a big one. That can mean a lot of different things to different people. But if you run into a group that you feel judged just by your mere presence in the group, you feel judged, you feel like you're not enough, that you're not good enough, that you're not strong enough, that you're not wise enough, that you're not smart enough, that you're not rich enough, that you're not enough. And you're receiving judgment because of that, and you feel that, you know, that you're being judged. Maybe your choices aren't conservative enough. Maybe the way you raise your children is not strict enough. Or maybe you are not lenient enough. You're just being judged. Your parenting's being judged. Your style is being judged. The way you dress, maybe the way you appear, the way you show up is being judged. Everything about you is being judged. All your actions, your decisions, the things you do for your family, being judged. How you eat, you know, how you choose to eat, what diet plans you're on, what you're not on, what you're using, what MLM products you're using, what you're not using. Just judgment on every corner. That feels culty. And I got sick of that because I had enough of that. I've been through 7 groups. And I'm like, why am I subjecting my family to this kind of treatment every single week? Why? For the sake of community. No, thank you. I will have community in a different way. I will find another way to have community. So that's exactly what we did. And the last red flag that I want to share is ostracism. If you ever feel like you are being left out of the group, or that your choice to not participate in certain activities that the rest of the group is participating in makes you an outsider or causes you to feel like you are othered because of your decision not to be a part of that group decision, then that's another red flag, because again, that's culty. That's like, follow us and do whatever we're doing, you do that because you're a robot. You just follow us. I don't do that. I have a brain, right? My kids have a brain. We have our own desires, emotions, will. We have our own family legacy. We know what we want, and we don't participate in a group in order to leave our brain, check our brain at the door, and be part of a system. We're part of a group in order to elevate our family and our children so we can raise our kids in a free environment to learn to think for themselves, not to be little robots and copies of everyone else in a group. Actually, we run from that. So it took me a long time to see that that's a lot of what happened over the years. And you notice I didn't say anything about skin color. I didn't bring up the R word, the racist word. I didn't say anything about that, but you have to imagine that that is a big portion of what a lot of people of color have to endure. And so I didn't even get into that. That's a whole different animal in and of itself. I could get into that, but this is just the other stuff, right? So the ostracism, a little bit more on that. When you find that the group that you're with sort of gels into their own little subgroups, and you're the only one who's not part of any of those groups. Everybody has their own friend groups, but you're just kind of out there on the fringes, not because you choose to be, because maybe you're trying, right? You could be offering up coffee dates, you could be inviting people to your home, but just nothing's happening, right? It's just, you're just up against a brick wall because nobody's ever available when you ask, you know? People are like, I'm busy. But you see that they are part of their groups, their friend groups within that group. And so you just start to feel the sense of ostracism, that you're not really a part of what's happening. And that can break people's hearts. Like when they join a group, they want to be a part of a whole. That's why they're joining. They want community. They don't want to feel ostracized or left out. So what we found in our family is that we find so much more peace and relief from all of that stuff just simply by finding a different path that doesn't feel like we need to have that type of community. So we might not be able to find the type of homeschool community in our environment or in our, in our location that we were looking for, but we're no longer looking for that. We found so much community at our church, so much. We've been so blessed to be part of a robust mega church that has a lot of activities for the youth. And so my daughter has been involved in that. She's very busy every week with youth group and with practice for, worship team, and just having a lot of fun on their first Fridays that they have this youth group. They have Wednesday night studies together, and then they see each other all day on Sundays. And so we're actually getting a lot more community and meeting a lot more often by just being part of our church. And that's what's worked for us these past 2 years, and it's been beautiful. It's been beautiful. And I admit there have been times that I've thought about, well, what would it be like if we were just part of a homeschool specific group again? But every time I think about it, I say, never mind. I like this better. It's so much more freeing. And the fact that, my daughter's in online school, it's really helpful because she can finish up her schoolwork and be done and within a few hours. And when she's done, right? She doesn't have to go to co-op. She doesn't have to go to a group where they do things together necessarily. Though it wouldn't be a bad thing, but she does kind of like the efficiency of doing her school virtually. And then when she's done, she's off to ballet, or when she's done, she's off to her youth group, or off to her worship practice, or off to her life group meetings or whatever with the church. So we just found that to be our kind of our thing, right? And that's what works for us right now. So anyway, thank you so much for listening. I pray that if you are having some issues with a homeschool group, that you can evaluate it to see if it's a good fit for your family. Not every group's a good fit. And also, if it is a good group that you're part of, stick with it, because it's such a blessing to have that type of community. And I commend you for, being able to form those friendships and those deep relationships with people. It's just sad for those of us who have tried and have really put forth a lot of effort. I mean, going above and beyond to put ourselves in situations where we can befriend others, open up our homes, just create opportunities for connections, and then finding that it's just never going to work because of the things that I mentioned: the judgment, the ostracism, the dogmatic rule pushing, and all of the little other quirks and things that I didn't mention, and things that allow others to kind of look down their nose at you if because you're not good enough, right? So that's very hurtful, and people don't have to say it. That's the thing. You don't have to say, oh, I'm coming at you really strong and this is how I feel and I don't like you. You don't have to say a word. And for those who are in groups right now, who are in homeschool groups, and you sense that might be happening within your group, and you're kind of on the outside and you're watching to see how families are treated in your group, maybe you're one of those families, just know that it's not so overt and it's not so obvious as to what meets the eye. A lot of times what's happening behind the scenes is what you're not seeing is that people or families who come in and who feel ostracized are feeling it. They're soaking it in. They feel it. They know it's happening. They know there's some subliminal messages going on. They know that they're being talked down on. They know that they're being misunderstood. They know that they're being judged. They know that they are being criticized and mishandled and mistreated and tolerated instead of celebrated. Anybody can feel that. You don't have to say, hey, I just tolerate you. You don't have to say it. You can just behave it You can just act like it. And the person who's on the receiving end will get it because we're smart. We feel that. So it's really, really hurtful. It's really hurtful. And it destroys homeschool groups. It hurts children. It hurts families who have invested their life in the home education community, who jump in wholeheartedly to just be a part of something bigger than themselves and bring their kids to experience that level of you're not good enough for whatever reason. I mean, I'm not making any, I'm not jumping to conclusions. I'm not saying maybe it's this, maybe it's that. It could be. But I'm saying that people feel left out and ostracized and mistreated on a regular. I'm not the only one who said this. So I know, because I've been watching the forums, I've been reading the message boards, I've been on the Facebook groups. I know that there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of families who have joined homeschool groups, specifically Christian conservative groups. So come on, Christian people, who have felt hurt as a result of joining those groups and who have left feeling extremely wounded and their kids very, very hurt. So this is kind of a little bit of a vent, but it's also, don't look at this as a negative video. Look at this as an opportunity for us as a community of believers who are homeschooling to start making some positive changes, to look past the he said, she said, and the finger pointing and all of that. It's really about loving one another. Love is the principal thing. It's the basic foundation, right? If we can love each other, because we say we follow Christ, right? So if we can just love, and love is not, I'll do you a favor if you do me a favor. Love is not an exchange. Love is, I want you in my life. I'm going to celebrate you. I want you to be part of us, and we want to be part of you, and let's do life together. And there's no shame. That's the other thing. When families feel like not only are they being judged, but the group might be just a little bit ashamed of them. See, that feels wrong, because it is, because when you know who you are and you know that you don't deserve to be treated that way, then it's like, why are you ashamed of me and my family? What's there to be ashamed of, right? So I can easily remove myself from the group, but I just want to say that, there's so many people who they won't have, a platform like this to say, this is how it is and things need to change, right? So that's why I'm saying it. It needs to change. I've even talked about it on my podcast. So I'll have a link about, I'll actually post it below so you guys can go listen to it if you haven't already. It was episode 123 on the Christian Homeschool Moms podcast, where I talked about this very topic and some of the hurtful things that have gone down in homeschooling culture. And that's it for now. Thank you for listening to my rant. Thank you so much for taking time out to watch this video. And if you have anything to add, to say, to respond, I welcome your responses. If you just have something negative to throw in to the comment mix, I don't have time for it, because I've already had to weed through a couple of really nasty, snarky comments before, and they just came out. They didn't come from a spirit of love at all. And I'm like, I'm wasting my time even reading some of these comments because it's accusatory. I'm not coming to you guys with, a bad spirit. I'm just saying, this is what I experienced. This is what my family experiences. This is what it is. And just leave it like that. Like, I think we can do better. And I'm not part of the homeschool community in the same way anymore. But if I were, I would want someone to speak up and say, hey, let's collectively try to make some changes here. It doesn't have to be this side or that side. It doesn't have to be black or white. It doesn't have to be, let's get into our little subgroups. It doesn't have to be that. Let's work together, but let's learn to love each other, right? Okay. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.